follow up. You can't,
So that's one of the things we want to talk about today as well, man. About what's the pros and cons of buying and holding right now, or are there any pros and cons? Right, any cons to it? I know a lot of people doing some strictly wholesaling, man. But is it the time to start buying and holding? What do you guys think?
There's always time
Oh,
to start buying and holding.
yeah.
You
I
should
don't see any time.
you should always be looking to buy and hold. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason why you shouldn't.
right. There's certain.
I even
The only time I say maybe not is when the market is just like it's ballooning. It's just going up. High, you buy things for much more than you would have last quarter.
Right. Well, that's when you sell, though, Jerrell.
That's when you sell. Yeah, he's saying buying. He's saying buy or buy.
Yeah, but even when I'm selling, I'm still buying.
And I think
if that right deal comes around,
buying is like in my territory. When I bought investment properties, I knew that Newark, New Jersey, or in North Jersey, period, we're a renter's market, right? So, and even when the decline came, even when the inflation came and interest rates skyrocketed, a lot of people put on hold buying and they went to renting, right? So their focus was on renting until whatever, right? So I'm always saying rent, buying, holding, keeping things under your belt, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, whatever it is. Always try to find a good deal. Now, here's the best thing about wholesaling real estate is that it teaches you what a good deal looks like. It teaches you what a bad deal looks like if you really learn, right? So the first foundation is the whole concept of wholesaling real estate because it takes you to determine good deals. So maybe that time when you see a good deal, take it down. I'm always saying wholesale some, hold some, wholesale some, hold some. That's the whole concept of the ability to not only get out of that trap, but just have ownership.
And you know what? That's also the new people too that's coming into the game, right? A lot of times we just think it's strictly wholesaling, man. But sometimes you might run across a phenomenal deal. You try to put yourself in position to get next to a Jerrell here, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to purchase some of these properties, or get them financing through the regular financing way, or whatever the case is. So you just never know when the deal that comes across your table is a phenomenal deal that you should take down.
I retract what I said earlier about this times because honestly, I'm quite shocked I even said that because all year actually for the last 12 months or maybe even more, I've been really pushing my clients to stop fixing flipping as much. I've been seeing so many of my clients and myself included run through properties and have very few properties, or if any, that are still bringing in income for them. And a lot of people also creating wealth through that equity boom that still, you may have made, 80,000, 60,000, or say 60,000 profit, but you cashed out 40,000 to put into a new deal, just the same as if you would have sold it. So, and now it's income producing. So for your family. So, and I'm shocked I even said that because there's not really any bad time. Just always buy at the right price. That's the key.
Hey, let me throw something at you guys. A little twist on what you're doing here is, if you're wholesaling predominantly, and then every once in a while you pick up a rental. What I would also say is every once in a while pick up one that you can offer a seller financing deal on. So if you buy a house, you get some hard money, you fix it up, you sell it to somebody on a wrap contract, and then you can sell that note to somebody like me. And then when I pay you for that note, then you pay off that underlying hard money loan. And then you've got, and so that's one way to do it is that you can sell the financing. And if you happen to keep the note, then you actually now have that type of income coming in as well. So you have rental income if you keep the property. If you're doing on seller financing, then you have just that passive income coming in, or you can replenish your capital and pay off the underlying hard money loan by selling that note to a note investor like myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So owner financing, the same thing as seller financing. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing, man.
It's the same thing because you're the owner. When you buy that property, you become the owner rather than the seller. The seller is the owner.
Yeah.
So
So hope you guys really understood what we're talking to the audience, the people that's listening, right? Hope you guys understand what he was actually saying, man. His name is Cody Cox, man. Look him up. You reach out to me. I'll give him his information, man. This is the way to go. This is the way to kill some deals, man. If you come in this game, all you know is wholesale, right? You run across a phenomenal deal where you get it at dirt cheap, basically. You know it's some skin, it's some meat on the bones, man. How else can you take this thing down and possibly, do some other stuff with it, whatever the case is, man? Contact Cody. Contact him, man. Everybody on this panel, man. We know how to get it done. But so look, a question. So are there any cons in doing owner finance, guys? Let's talk about some of the cons. It can't be all good, right?
Well, it's not all good because sometimes people just don't like to make their payment for whatever reason. I've got one right now that I ended up having to foreclose on it. I've got a lockout scheduled tomorrow, and so that's one that I will eventually take back, and I'll probably sell it to a wholesaler. And this property's in Flint, Michigan. So
that's my hometown right there. I got you, Cody. That's my home. Yeah. I'm from Saginaw, so that's Flint. That's right next door over. So let me ask you a question. So let's kind of dissect that a little bit.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How do you go about those few steps to getting that person out of there in that type of situation?
Well, in this particular situation, it was what's called a contract for deed. So my company was still entitled to the property. I bought a contract where what do they call that? The interest of the property is in the name of that particular buyer. So he had the beneficial interest of the property as the buyer on that. I held the contract, but there was not a transfer of title, and there wouldn't be unless he, completed the contract. In this situation, he hadn't made any payments for a couple of years, and we finally decided we're gonna foreclose on it on a contract. It's called a forfeiture. Yep. And so we went through the court process and had an attorney go through the forfeiture process. So we eventually took back the property. This particular borrower, at this point in time, he's kind of a squatter, if you will, because he has no interest in the property at this point in time, but he hasn't moved out. So our attorney contacted the local sheriff's office because they have a department with the local sheriffs who actually handle eviction. So it's handled like an eviction. But then at the same time, they change the lock. So they'll probably clear out most of the personal property in the house, put it out on the curb for him to take care of, change the lock so he cannot gain access. I've got a realtor there right in Flint who's going to take the keys from the sheriff once they do the lockout and change the keys. And then I'll list the property with him as is, and he'll sell it to a local wholesaler or a local rehabber.
Absolutely. Listen, Michigan I don't know if they still do, I know they definitely had the worst for people who are squatters, right?
Yeah.
A person can go on vacation for a week and come back home, somebody moved them to their place, man, and it was hell getting them out of there.
I had one in Detroit that actually had two squatters. We got one out before we could really close out the house. I had another squatter in there. So and so I called up I think it was the 7th precinct in Detroit, Michigan, and asked them to get these guys out of there. And he says, "No, what do you want us to do? Work on murders and all these other things, or get this guy out of the house?" So it was a tough deal, but finally we were able to get it out and get that house sold. And actually, I think I sold it to my investor on that because he wanted a rental house. So I probably should follow up with him to see how that materialized. But yeah, there's all sorts of various exit strategies, but there's all sorts of various type of pitfalls that can come into note investing. I've had to advance out several $1,000s to make sure that the county did not foreclose on it from non-payment of property taxes. So sometimes that happens. If the borrower is not making the payment to you, chances are he's not making the property tax payment either.
That's true. That's true. But okay. Could you have got with a servicing company?
It was with a servicing company. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I put all my stuff in a servicing company because all the legal paperwork and the year-end statements and all that sort of stuff need to come from somebody that's licensed.
Yeah. So we're not trying to scare you guys, right? We just want to let you know that there's some pros and cons to it as well. You just got to make sure that that when you decide to do this type of investing, that you kind of, make sure you know what you're doing when it comes to that, or get with somebody who does, that can kind of show you the ropes on what to get done. Now, in different states, there's different things you got to go through.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of legal situations
Yeah,
that are
it is.
involved
It definitely
with
is.
mortgages on that side, and I'm sure Jerrell can talk to us about that. I mean, because you're dealing with a contract, you're dealing with, what I deal with is considered a security, and most state security laws talk about ownership of notes as a security, especially if you're buying and selling notes. So yeah, there's a lot of legal ramifications. I have about 5 attorneys in various parts of the country that I work with on a regular basis.
Yeah.